It's the Gear Tester here, and welcome to my second range report on the Smith and Wesson Model 640. The 640 is a stainless steel J-frame snubby revolver from Smith and Wesson that is chambered in .357 Magnum. You can also shoot the lower power .38 Special cartridge through it. What you guys are watching right now was intended to be a practice run. I was going to fire my revolver a couple times, go through the drills, practice reloading here, and then I was going to film the primary runs on this revolver. You guys would be watching that right now, but in just a second you'll see why I ended or concluded my shooting of the Smith & Wesson Model 640 this day in particular, because I ended up damaging my hand.
I just was shooting my Smith & Wesson Model 640. This is a pre-lock Smith & Wesson Model 640. You can see this little edge right there. It's got some blood on it. You can see my hand there. I'm not significantly hurt, but the grip, because of the way this grip is angled, this is a hammerless revolver. The way I hold it, because I'm used to holding my semi-automatic pistols very high, as I hold like that, and as the gun recoils, I'm only shooting .38 Special. Light .38 Special. You can see that it cuts my hand open, and as I'm shooting, you know, people always say, hey, in an armed conflict you won't notice. Well, I don't know if you can fight physics, and there's no reason to be bleeding and cut unnecessarily. This is the second time about a week and a half that while I've been shooting this gun, it has cut me right there and hurt my hand. It's just something to think about. I really wish somebody would go out and make a grip for this 640, 442, 642 family of hammerless revolvers that Smith & Wesson makes, where this grip portion came up and there was protection from that sharp little edge there, because I keep cutting myself, and if I'm doing it, other people are doing it probably. I've got another revolver here that I want to show you. This is my Smith & Wesson Model 642, and you can see I have a different grip on it. This is a grip that I personally have modified. It was a longer grip. And what this grip does is it backs your hand off away from that sharp edge, and this does help. And so I wish somebody would make, I know this would be a specific grip that would probably only be used on the 640, 442, 642, and similar guns. But where this just came up to there and wrapped around like that and protected you from this edge so you could hold it higher. Because sometimes, even with this modified grip, I modified it down so it would be closer to the, and easier to pocket carry, closer to this size of grip. Even with this grip, sometimes it wants to recoil a little bit and hit me there with that. Crimson Trace makes a similar grip to this one, but it's $240 for a grip, and I'm not buying it for the laser. I'm buying it just so that this angle there doesn't cut my hands. This Smith & Wesson Model 640 is about 8 ounces heavier than this aluminum-framed 442, and what I find is I purchased this one thinking there'd be less recoil and it would be more comfortable. And ultimately, it's really not the weight of the gun that's being the problem, it's the grip. So I really wish, if there's someone out there, make a grip for these guns that covers up that edge and that allows me to shoot the guns in the way I like to, with a very high grip, and mitigates my hand being cut by the grip.
I thought I'd share with you how I reload revolvers and some of the steps and techniques I use to increase consistency and reliability and repeatability when I'm reloading my revolver. When it comes to reloading little snubby revolvers, you need to be more intentional than with larger revolvers, and there's a couple reasons for that, and we'll discuss those here in just a second. One thing before you start trying to reload your revolver is you need to have set yourself up for success. With semi-automatic handguns, we tend to, if you're right-handed, we tend to use our left hand to bring in a fresh magazine. So we're dropping the mag here, we're bringing a fresh magazine up, rack the slide, or if the slide is in lock back, as you do that, there you go. You drive it home with the slide release. Either one of those options are viable. I choose to run the slide because I think that's the best way of doing it. But the point is your reloads are in your left hand, so it makes sense to have your reloads on the left-hand side of your body with a semi-automatic handgun if you're right-handed. Obviously, it would be reversed if you're left-handed. So the gun runs empty, drop the mag, new mag in, rack the slide, and I'm back in the fight. Revolvers are different. you're going to need to set up your reload so that they are, if you're right-handed, so that they are on your right-hand side. I'm going to show you why that is here. So, got already fired brass here in this revolver to simulate that I have just finished firing, and now I have a bunch of empty brass in the gun. So, get multiple shots on target, or I miss, and now it comes time for a reload. Click. The gun has just let me know I probably don't have any more rounds in it. What I'm going to do is I'm holding the gun in my right hand. I'm going to transition the gun into my left hand, and I'm going to push this little latch forward with a J-frame snubby from Smith and Wesson. There's other revolvers maybe you have to push down or do different things. But in this case, because this is a snubby revolver from Smith and Wesson's cylinder release button pushes forward. So I'm going to push that forward as I'm transferring the revolver into my left hand. I'm going to use these two fingers to push the cylinder open, and I'm going to leave my fingers there, keeping the cylinder open. If you try and do this, the cylinder can go back in, pop around, move around. It's going to be hard to reload. So the gun goes click. I'm going to start to transfer the gun into my left hand. I'm going to push down on the cylinder release. I'm going to pop the cylinder out with these two fingers there, and I'm going to make sure to keep them pressed against the frame of the gun right here. This is the little forcing cone, and it gets hot if you've been shooting a lot. So if you run your hands up there, oh, you might drop your gun because it's going to hurt you. It's going to burn you. So pop it open with these two fingers, keep them against the frame of the gun, the back of the frame of the gun, and now I'm going to invert the revolver. Some of the rounds may fall out. You can see some of these rounds, when you discharge them, they fire form to the cylinder, so you're going to need to kick them out. Okay, so some of them have fallen out, some of them won't. Then I bring my right hand up and I hit this little rod there twice. Now you could, I guess, do it with your thumb there, but I choose to use my palm like this, and I do it twice because these snubby revolvers have a very short little ejection rod. And what that means is they don't eject the casing all the way out. This is 38 Special. That rod limits how far I can kick them out. So they don't just eject straight out of the gun. Whereas with larger revolvers, like my Smith and Wesson 686P, it has a significantly longer ejection rod, so I can just go whoop, and the rounds are out. Because in this case, you can see it actually lifts them all the way out. It gets them to the end of the brass and can kick them out. With the snubbies, that's not the case, so you have to be more intentional. So as just a rule of thumb, I just always open the latch, transfer the gun to my left hand, kick the cylinder open, come up here, and I do this twice, okay? The reason I choose to hit this ejection rod twice, okay, is because I'm hoping that if a round has gotten stuck in the chamber, particularly with the snubby revolvers, that gravity and the vibration of my hand hitting the rod and the firearm 2 or 3 times will knock loose any rounds. So as you use your gun, you'll know, does it basically always 2 hits get it, or does doing it 3 times mean that you can make sure that the gun is more reliable and gets the empty casings out of the gun consistently? Left hand, kick the cylinder open, come up here, and I do this twice, okay? So I've inverted the gun down so the rounds can fall out. Now I tip the gun barrel downward, and in this case I'm going to be using a speed loader. I take the speed loader, I insert it into the cylinder, and then I pull forward or twist or push forward depending on the kind of speed loader you have. That kicks itself off to the side, and now I'm ready to fire the firearm again. So that's how I use the little speed loaders, right? And you're going to need to know precisely, depend on the make and model and the manufacturer, how your speed loaders operate. I tend to not trust speed loaders that much because they hold the rounds secure, but then if you just twist this, they fall right out. And there's a reason why police officers who carried speed loaders carried back in the 60s and 70s, why they carried them in pouches that protected them, little leather pouches that covered them so that you couldn't accidentally hit that knob. For modern individuals who are concealed carrying, what I fear is that, and I've had this happen to myself, is you're carrying these in your pocket, you stick your hand in your pocket, maybe you play with them, and boop, and all of a sudden you've just got loose rounds in your pocket. So they are faster. Undoubtedly, speed loaders are faster. This revolver actually is cut to allowed clips that go in that hold the rounds in and put all 5 rounds in and then come out with them. But those are very chintzy and I find break easily, so I haven't used those. My preference is to reload my revolvers with this speed strip or quick strip. There's a couple different companies that make these. Just a little rubber strip that holds the rounds. And so I would, again, you're going to need to have this available to your right hand. It shouldn't be in your left hand pocket. You won't be able to get it out. So you fire your revolver, last couple shots in your revolver, you get a click. We're going to push the cylinder latch forward. We're going to get that cylinder out of the gun, keep our fingers against the back frame of the revolver so we don't burn ourselves. Bring our right hand up once, twice. Now tip the gun barrel down. And now we're going to keep the cylinder open with either my thumb or those fingers. And I'm going to insert rounds. And then I'm going to twirl the cylinder so that it makes my job easier. Twirl the cylinder, make my job easier. And then I am up and ready to fight. One thing you need to be aware of is if you hit this at an angle or you get a little too vigorous with it, you can bend this rod. So this is a delicate piece of equipment that is maybe particularly true with these ones that are longer. Maybe that's one negative, is it would be easy to have my hand come in sideways and just bend that, and now your gun is not going to lock up. It's not going to work. Okay, that would be a problem. So you need to be intentional and to some degree gentle as you come to get these rounds out of the gun. That's why I use my open palm. That's why some people prefer to use their thumb like this. They feel that it's less violent. With these shorter rods on the snub nose revolvers, I think you're actually less likely to bend them, but you still need to be careful. So I come up and over with the palm of my hand and allow the barrel of the gun to kind of guide my hand down once, twice, maybe 3 times. Now turn the gun with barrel down and start to work on it, getting it reloaded. So that's how I use both quick strips and speed loaders. Because I managed to hurt my hand shooting the 640, I decided I would discontinue shooting it today and come back some other time and film some more videos. I'll be continuing to shoot my 442 here. This review would be kind of boring if it didn't have some more content. So I continue to shoot here the 442. The 442 is about 8 ounces lighter than the 640. It's an airweight aluminum frame instead of stainless steel like the 640. It actually has a shorter barrel and a little bit cruder sights. So anything I'm able to do with the 442, it would be easier for me to accomplish with the 640 in its stainless steel configuration with better sights. Reloading revolvers is a technical skill that you need to be proficient with, and it's a perishable skill. If you're not paying attention and being intentional and practicing how you're going to reload your revolver, it's easy to not do a good job.
You guys just saw me run a set of 3 steel plates with one of these snubby revolvers, either my 442 or my 642 with 38 special in them. I want you to compare my speed, my accuracy, the speed of the reload, and how effectively I manipulate a different gun, a little semi-automatic handgun, to these. I want you to compare how I run this little Glock 43 to those guns. This gun is similar in size in terms of weight as well as capacity. To be fair in this test, I'm going to start with only 5 rounds in my magazine because those are both 5-shot revolvers, so I'll have to reload at the same time I would have with one of those.
One of the things that was immediately apparent to me is the excess big dot sights that I have on this Glock 43 are much easier for my eye to find and track. And that's one of the benefits of a semi-automatic gun, that as a general rule, sights are easier to attach. I just reloaded that gun, and that's something that you're not going to be able to do with a revolver, is reload while you're running quickly. And so the benefits of a semi-automatic are significant. In this next clip, I'm going to pair my Glock 43 with the Smith and Wesson Model 640. I'm going to have them working together as a team. I'm going to employ a technique called a New York reload. When my Glock goes dry, I'm going to drop it on the ground and draw my Smith and Wesson Model 640. Some people may feel that this technique is rather crude, but it's actually very effective and allows you to train for both your gun going empty or you're getting wounded or falling over, dropping the firearm. So I think it's actually a very useful thing to practice, especially if you're carrying a backup gun. Well, you'd have to be carrying a backup gun to do a New York reload. In most cases, it's actually going to be faster to simply draw another gun than to perform a reload. This would certainly be true if you were carrying multiple revolvers. The New York reload was pioneered, if my memory serves me right, by police officers in the New York City Police Department. That was a time in history when revolvers were the duty weapon of choice. We live in a modern age of polymer wonder pistols, and those pistols are faster to shoot and easier to reload, but there is something so seductive, something so attractive about a stainless steel Smith and Wesson J-frame snubby. Thank you very much for your views and your subscriptions. My goal here at the Gear Tester YouTube channel is to produce quality video reviews on the topics of shooting, camping, and survival gear. This is the Gear Tester signing off.